Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the World Report. I'm Scott Crowfoot. On today's report, Brazil releases shocking economic numbers as the Greeks are told to declare cash, jewelry, and precious stones. World War III looms closer as Russia accuses NATO ally Turkey of a secret ISIS alliance. U.S. schools are scrambling to find teachers that speak Arabic. And billionaire Warren Buffett will stump for Hillary's Everyday Americans BS campaign in Omaha. What famous leftist president once loved and adored is now being scorned by those same people who loved and adored him. And now to our top stories. While the world burns from one end of the globe to another, world leaders take on the very serious situation known as global warming. No, wait, it's called climate change. No, it's actually called weather. And the president just spent $785,000 on just his motorcade and emitted enough CO2 to drive 72 cars for a year. Talk about hypocrisy. Maury, I can't think of distracting the American people with a more nonsensical, I'm sure a lot of people are going to get upset with this statement, but BS situation that they've promoted and basically made. Global warming.
The whole thing is a farce. It started with Rahm Emanuel and Obamacare. He said, here's a list of things that'll get attention. Roosevelt, whatever you can say in criticism of him, did a great job in the early years of the Depression when he developed these, what I call alphabet organizations, WPA, PWA, TVA. And his job was two things. One, to give people employment and to build an infrastructure. Well, everybody knew then, 8 years ago, that we had a decaying infrastructure in this country. Railroad tracks, roads, highways, dams, bridges. God only knows what needs to be repaired. Instead, they put all that money into Obamacare, and then they try to do this thing with the savings of CO2, the one that never passed. It got through the House and then it didn't pass the Senate. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a way of trying to pay off those people who would embrace renewables instead of using oil and natural gas. Anyway, that never passed, fortunately. But the point is, everything that this president has tried to put through and was able to do to some extent, of course, with Obamacare, which, by the way, is starting to fall apart as we speak.
Remember, Barack Obama, back in 07 and 08, said, we need to get this single payer, but we can't get there overnight. So the idea was to get this started, implode the insurance companies, which is happening, and here comes the government for the savior. So you and I look at it as a reckless train wreck. To them, it's a success, I believe.
Well, I don't think so, because that step hasn't been implemented, and he'll be out of there before that next step. If Hillary wins, there may be a chance she'll pick up on it and make it happen, that single payer, because she herself, if you recall, had an insurance program in the first term of her husband, and that didn't last very long because there was such an outcry against it. So the point is, everything that this man has brought to the table has turned out to be a negative. And the worst part is, Congress has been totally impotent in stopping the purse strings. You know, the House of Representatives is supposed to have the job of financing things, or not financing if they find it untenable to finance because of the debt or because it's not money well spent. Under the Democrats, it was understandable they'd give him all the money he needed, but this has been continued now in the last 4 years under a Republican Congress.
And the last budget they just passed a couple months ago gave him more than he was asking for, which is ridiculous.
He's outfoxed the Republicans in a way I never thought he could, because he scared them. They don't want to hit tarred with a brush.
The government shutdown.
Government shutdown. That's something that scares the living daylights out of every Republican.
Do you realize that the government is shut down right now as we speak?
Well, sure, it's shut down.
We're
They're
on Pacific
vacation.
time. It's on the East Coast, and everything seems to be functioning okay. Every Saturday and Sunday, the government shuts down.
But the point is, the Republicans have shown no capability to stand up to Obama. This is like the Fuhrer when he gained power. He had a parliament. Of course, they became nothing but a yes group form. But the point is, here I thought when the Tea Party showed signs of aggressiveness and electing people, if it wasn't for the Tea Party, the GOP would have never taken over the House and probably not the Senate either, because the people that were there to push through the additional Senate seat were people that were committed to the Tea Party concept, even though it had flared out and it was up there. It was never a formal group, and it just never gained any
and when
momentum.
you've got the fly swatter that the federal government has, and their ability
Huge.
to fund or not fund all the little shadow splinter groups that the Tea Party had. I mean, we know from the Lois Lerner investigations that they were attacking conservative Tea Party groups. So how could they survive?
Well, they used dictatorial methods to crush the Congress. The whole idea of having balance of powers, the executive, legislative, judicial, that's gone out the window. It doesn't work. It works only when people paid attention to it and respected it and allowed it to be implemented. I've never seen a degradation of the balance of power that made this country the unique, democratic, powerful country that it has been over the years as it has been now. I think the cleverness with which Obama and his gang has taken over this government and gotten through things that they want to get through. Why do you think he's now gone with this climate control situation? Because he feels that's his legacy. Just like Obamacare was his legacy for the first time, for the first term, the situation now with this climatological purity, as I call it, it's a farce. There are more scientific experts against what he's proposing than there are for it.
And isn't it a lot more convenient for him to chase a bogeyman that no one can really even point to, as opposed to dealing with the things that are confronting us right now, like the economic situation in the country, like ISIS, like this burgeoning situation in the Middle East? I mean, it's a lot easier to work on some abstract thing that may or may not be true.
Well, what I find disgraceful is he was, I don't know, as we speak this morning, he spoke gibberish. I couldn't make heads or tails out of what he was talking about. He was just standing there blabbing. But the point is, he's trying to come back with a multi-billion-dollar program that is going to change everything, that even oil, natural gas will go down the tube just like coal did. He wants to have everything in renewables. And then, of course, he's got Bill Gates, and he's got this guy Steyer, and he's got all these billionaires there who are dumb enough to go along with it. I consider these guys, they were very good at what they did. Like a Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, fantastic, worth $45 billion. But as far as knowing what's going on, I don't think those guys have any concept at all.
Well, I don't think they care. I think they're on the inside. They're getting their palms greased, and so they don't care.
They've made it, I know. But when I hear them speak, I find that they don't have any background. As far as I'm concerned, Warren Buffett, probably one of the greatest investors of all times, as far as knowing politics, I don't think he understands it. I really don't. He doesn't have any sense of history. The only way you can have a sense of history, you got to see what has happened in the world. What happened in Germany? What happened in Russia? What happened in the Mideast? These people don't understand that.
Well, you can even look within the last 20 years what's happened in Europe. I mean, you don't have to go back that far to see that they've already tried this green exhibit movement, and it has failed miserably.
That's not only correct, it's shown, as you say, it was totally disproved by how it fell apart, because they've given away everything, short work weeks.
Early vacation, or early retirements.
Early retirement, pay people that aren't working the same wages practically that those that are working. And at the same time, they have shrunk their families because they've made it desirable to have no more than, it's not like in China where they now have abandoned the one
Child policy.
one child policy. In Europe, this has become now a fad that women don't want to have children anymore. And some people feel, what's the point? So now, Germany is a good example. You know, they lost 5 million soldiers during the Second War, thanks to Hitler, and consequently, they're short of people working in the factories. So the reason that the Chancellor of Germany decided that she wanted to have, 100,000 or 200,000 Syrians, she thought that she could put them to work in the factories because they're short.
That's got to be one of the most ridiculous, short-sighted ideas I've ever heard of in my whole life. I mean, these people aren't coming to work. They're coming to take over your country.
I'm beginning to think that Angela Merkel is getting a little long in the tooth.
You know, I had tremendous respect for her. Going back even a year ago. I can't believe how fast this is. Did you ever think that you would look and say, wow, I really admire the Russian president over our own president?
Well, as far as his ability to get things done, I guess you have to say that.
He's a nationalist. He stands up for his country.
He's an ultra-nationalist. Yeah.
Cares about his people. This guy, I would think he's at odds, and he's actually looks at the American people as an enemy. Where he doesn't look like that at anybody else in the world.
I won't go as far as to say that. What I would say is that he does not identify with American history, with American uniqueness, and with America's future.
You don't think that he looks at the Republicans and the Republican Party and conservatives as enemies?
Oh, from that standpoint, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I look at a lot of Democrats as my enemies.
Point taken. We need to step away for a brief moment. We'll return with our economic and energy update, the global outlook, political insider, and much more. We get lots of questions and comments from viewers all over the world. Just email your question or video to Maury@theworldreport.org, and there's a good chance you'd see yours featured right here. Remember to like us, recommend us,